move to my presentation. So I think that you gentlemen, ladies, you all know these stamps very well. It's 1959 U.S. Centenary, oil Centenary commemorative stamp. So a little bit of a story about the stamp, about the story of the stamp and the story of the Colonel Drake, of course. According to the generally accepted version, the first industrial oil well was drilled in the vicinity of the city of Titusville in Pennsylvania by a drilling crew that was hired by Colonel Edwin Drake. And on 27th of August in 1859, the well hit the first oil. And a few months later, the volume of the oil produced at this well exceeded the volume of all oil produced in Europe over the past 200 years. And the Titusville actually grew, if I'm not mistaken, tenfold in the population. In 1959, a commemorative stamp was issued in the United States, designed according to Otto Summerford, who was at the time the head of the U.S. Postal Service. It was designed not just to serve as a commemorative symbol, but when he addressed the audience during the presentation in Titusville, he said that when more than 120 million copies of this stamp, sorry, that's why I don't think why it's brand hit stamp, of course, stamp are distributed around the world, it will be a reminder of what can be achieved through a combination of free enterprise, foresight, courage, and the efforts of a dedicated people. And here you see this historical recreation of Drake well, of course, in Drake's rig. So let's move to Pennsylvania in the second half of the 19th century, or rather to the small Venango County in the northwest of the state, which very soon will become the cradle of the oil boom and the world center of oil production and get the popular name Pennsylvania Oil Patch. And somewhere ahead, the specter of a civil war is already visible, and the civil war actually will help the newly born oil industry in rather unexpected way. But so far, it is the end of August in 1859, and right now Edwin Drake is trying to overcome another difficulty or complication in driller slang, a complication that threatens to fail the whole idea of drilling this labor-intensive well. Water continues to flow into the well, and it is absolutely impossible to drill further because the rate of the inflow does not allow this water to be expelled from the well. Looking around, Drake notices a metal pipe whose diameter is large enough not to interfere with the drill bit and small enough to fit on the into the borehole. So the world's first casing was lowered into the world's first well, which allowed the walls of the well to be disconnected from its shaft. The drilling crew and Edwin Drake himself have been working all summer, but there is still no oil in the well. Maybe all those who called Drake's idea madness and himself a lunatic and a madman were right. The very idea that oil can be collected not from the surface of water reservoirs, but after drilling some salt well-like construction, was as green from most of those around. Of course, because everyone knows that oil is products of internal transformations occurring in the coal seams, where it may also ooze, at least in salt wells you can find oil drips, but just drilling holes in the ground seems nothing but real madness. And the fate of the commemorative stamp, like Drake's himself, was full of contradictions. The Initiative Committee made its first unsuccessful attempt in 1934 in order to mark the Diamond Jubilee of American oil production with the release of the stamp. The anniversary was celebrated, but the stamp was not released. Although, if we recall the state position of those years voiced at the celebration in Titusville by Secretary of Interior, Mr. Harold Ikes, maybe it's for the best. Speaking about the oil industry, the minister noted that the senseless exploitation of resources, which can be stopped by the strong hand of the state, which intervenes in the oil industry as a guardian of public interest. The ensuing, albeit polite, but still a quarrel with the president of the American Petroleum Institute, Mr. Axel Biles, who pointed out to the minister the exceptional importance of private initiative in oil production, once again emphasized the low probability of issuing any kind of commemorative stamps for such a controversial industry during the implementation of the New Deal. In 1949, the request was repeated and at the time reinforced by the demands of the Pennsylvania residents to note their state's contribution to the development of the entire American oil industry. And not only the oil industry, we can look at the data on the length of highways, the number of cars, and the price of a gallon of gasoline at those times. This time, the issue of a commemorative stamp was even provided for by a bill that unfortunately was never became a law. And at last, finally, in 1959, as a part of the celebration of the centenary anniversary of the American oil industry, a stamp was issued with a face value of 4 cents. A gallon of gasoline, by the way, would have cost the price of a dozen such stamps at the time. Just a quick reminder. And the design of the stamp was handled by Robert Foster, an architect and industrial designer. And some words about Robert Foster. Maybe the most well-known of his works and the work that brought Foster world fame was the figure of Mercury installed in the Ford Pavilion at the World Fair in New York in 1939. It was quite a remarkable sculpture, and if you look on the sculpture and then on the stamp, you will see some similarities and resemblance in the style of it. And actually, the sculpture was such huge of an event that it was even mentioned in the press. So it said a quotation from a short story from New York Times, I guess. Made of shiny stainless steel sheets, this god of the age of cars hovers around over the main entrance to the Ford Pavilion, the most beautiful building of the World's Fair in New York, calmly looking at the more than 25,000 people who pass through the exhibition hourly during rush hours. So Mercury attracts wide attention from art critics. It is the work of the famous sculptor Robert Foster and the world's largest sculpture of the winged messenger. Foster calls this new type of artwork structural sculpture, and we will see this structural sculpture thing on the drilling rig that he put on the stamp. Mercury is 25 pounds. It's mistranslation. It weighs 3 tons and has no support column with right stone support, as its weight is transferred from the shoulder to the drapers and from there to the building. In one hand, Mercury holds the V8 emblem symbolizing Ford, and then the other, the V12 emblem symbolizing Lincoln Zephyr. And Foster prepared several versions of the stamp, including the one which has the same drilling rig as the Drake used. And the artist himself said that since I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, I could draw the Drake's well from memory without using any additional reference images. But nevertheless, the final version of the stamp showed not a historical rig, but a modern one, this one. And the Titusville Herald newspaper, which covered the preparations and the celebration of the centennial itself, noted that this was done intentionally for a greater recognition, since the historical appearance of the Drake well may not be familiar to the general public, but everyone will recognize the classic drilling rig, sorry. Surprisingly, this image migrated to some other stamps. For example, those that were released in at the end of the 20th century in series with names like Millennium, or here, for example, is the stamp from Uganda. So we see a gushing well, but it is dedicated to Drake's well, of course, but it's clearly much newer version than the Drake's one. So, but still, it has become like some sort of a symbol. So the circulation of the stamp, by the way, turned out to be slightly less than 120 million. In total, about 160 million of these stamps were issued, while almost a million, or rather more than 800,000, were sent from Titusville or cancelled on the first day. Some of them were pasted on the envelope of the first day, or the first day cover, and it was illustrated by another famous American artist, Norman Rockwell. And pay attention to the inscription, which is given here on the envelope: "Born in freedom, working for progress." In fact, I think it's a good paraphrase for the polar views on the industry from the business point of view and state point of view, expressed in the words of Minister Ikes and President Biles of the Petroleum Institute. Let the historical appearance of the Drake's drilling rig not get on the stamp, but it was reflected on a special stamp, or on a special stamp here, and also on some of the first day covers. I provided QR code, QR link to a vast collection of the first day covers for this stamp. I personally own just a couple of them, but there are much more to have a look at. So please use this QR code to visit the page where you can find this first day covers.
what is there's a stamp on that cover in Russian. What does that say?
Here it is a international.
Ah,
International. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
because you see that it was sent from Titusville to USSR
mm-hmm.
to I believe it's this is Zakarpatskia. It's I think it's Transcarpathian part of the Ukraine Republic at the time. To sum up, in 2009, a group of enthusiasts established the Oil 150 Management Committee, which aimed, among other things, to issue a commemorative stamp for the 150th anniversary of the oil industry. But despite their best efforts of the committee and also other concerned citizens, the Public Advisory Committee on Postage Stamps of the United States Postal Service rejected all these attempts to issue such a stamp due to the unfavorable public impression of the modern oil industry. And unfortunately, this position fits perfectly into the paradigm of some sort of stigmatization of the extractive industry as a whole and the energy industry beyond the boundaries of the energy transition. This is the story of Red and Drake and Edwin Drake's well on postal stamps. Unfortunately, there's just a couple of stamps I have found by now, one from the United States and another from Uganda. But hopefully this effort by Drake won't be forgotten, and we'll see it somewhere in the future, maybe for 100, maybe for bicentenary anniversary of the American oil industry or something like that. That's all, guys. I hope you like it. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free uh, to share.
How many countries approximately do you think have issued oil well stamps?
Oh, actually, we have a special catalog. In Russia, it was published. It is called oil philately, and I think it's something like 170 countries. Because
Wow.
some stamps like not all the stamps, not all the petroleum stamps have like oil rig or like refinery or something. Because some stamps just show us some logos like OPEC logo or something like this. Some
Oh,
shows
yes. Yeah.
some prominent people from the industry and so on and so forth. But actually, almost all countries, had issued some stamps. And the fun thing is that, for example, we could take United States, for example, which is one of the leading oil producers in the world, and historically it's the first major producer of oil in the world. It had issued just two stamps actually with oil rigs. One is the 1959 oil Centenary stamp, and another one is 1950 California Centenary of Statehood stamp,
Yeah.
where we see this pioneers and some gold miner and some oil rigs on the background. Actually, the same goes for Russia, because not so many oil-related stamps in Russia.
When we extract metal ores from the ground, we dig a hole or a cave or something.
Mhm.
When we extract coal, we dig a hole or a cave or something.
Mhm.
Why is it that you must build a tower for oil? What is the purpose of that tower?
The purpose of the tower, because it holds actually all the drilling equipment. Because when you need to drill, you need to put a lot of metal pipes into the ground. Because when you extract coal, for example, you make a large pit. But when you drill for oil, you make like a really, really tiny hole in the ground. It may be something like maybe less than 10-inch wide. So and then you need to you need to do a lot of metal work, because if you have something like 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet below the ground of the oil reservoir, you need to have like 1,500 feet of metal pipes just to put them inside the ground, and that's why you need this drilling rig, because it will hold the weight of the pipes, it will hold the weight of the drilling equipment, the thing that the rotary drill which destroys the actually the rocks. It will hold the weight of all the pipes, all the additional equipment. It could also hold the weight of the drilling motor, the engine that will turn the pipes, because we need to turn them in order for them not to stuck in the ground. And that's why we need this construction. Actually, it's it may be not just like look like this tower, but it could be of any shape. But and historically, for example, if you look at the ancient China, they were of different shape, and because in China they also did some drilling for salt and brines, and they used a little slightly different towers, but still, I think it's a question of engineering, just because it's easy to build and easy to maintain. That's why it's like a tower like this one.
I didn't quite understand the role of the casing and how it helped to prevent water getting into the oil. Does the casing surround the oil pipe, and as water leaks in, there are pumps that somehow pump the water up and out from the casing so it doesn't go into the oil pipe? Is that what happens?
Okay, I see. Let me answer. I'm feeling like I'm just once again on an exam at the petroleum university.
An oral.
and okay, and all the respected professors are just asking me how to drill a well. Okay, so we need in fact, Drake's well was not that deep. Actually, it was something around 30 meters or something like less than 100 feet, I believe. And when you drill such shallow wells, you will face the possibility that the walls of the well will collapse, because they're not like cemented or something, and you need to put them together. You need to keep them together, keep them how to say. You need to prevent this collapse, and when you drill deeper, you will face some maybe water-bearing formations or maybe gas-bearing formations, and you don't need this water or gas to enter your well. And so you need to disconnect the walls of the well from the well itself, where you do all the drilling stuff. And that's why you need casing. So when you put this casing, so no water inflow into the shaft of the well, no gas inflow, and so on and so forth. So, and that's why when you drill, you need to also use these casing pipes, lower them into the well, just in order to keep the well integrity, in order not to. If you had seen the movie The Deepwater Horizon, and I think that you all know about this tragedy, the Deepwater Horizon in Mexican Gulf, actually it was due to the improper casing and improper cementing of this casing. So, and that's why we need these pipes, these casing pipes, in order to prevent gas and oil from inflowing into the well from the layers. We do not to be from the layers which we don't want the oil and gas to come from into the well, because
Does the casing go down at the same time as the drill head, or is it?
No. So usually we drill. I'm not sure what's the procedure in the United States, but In Russia, usually some depth is drilled. It is drilled, for example, at 30 meters or maybe 50 meters. In some cases, maybe 100 meters, and then the casing pipe is lowered and cemented, and then the drilling continues. I think it's the same in the United States. Maybe the depths are different, but the procedure is the same, I guess. Actually, we use special equipment for cementing wells. So when we install this casing pipe, we put out all the drilling equipment, all the drilling strings, I mean pipes. Yes, it's called drilling string or drilling pipes. So we put them out, we install cementing equipment, cementing pipes. We do cementing when we wait for something like 12 hours or maybe sometimes 16 or 18 hours for cement to create a cement stone. And then we can continue drilling. And then we repeat this after another 100 meters or maybe a couple of hundred meters.
So the casing is attached at the top where the rig is, and then all pushed down. Yeah.
Actually, there are several types of casings. They are differentiated according to their size or diameter, because we go from larger at the top to the smaller at the bottom hole. And they are attached to some special equipment on the ground, which is called BOP or blowout preventers. So all the casing pipes are connected to these blowout preventers. So whose task is to prevent the blowouts, actually, to prevent the catastrophe that costed a lot of lives at the Deepwater Horizon, actually.